So if you've ever used software and you have felt as though maybe things are a little bit jagged or it didn't feel as smooth as other softwares, there's almost certainly a reason for it. And a lot of the time it is, in my opinion, an accumulation of little things that haven't been done correctly with that software. And one of those little things that is so easy to get right with Bubble is transitions with a hover over an element. So it might be that you hover your mouse over a bit of text or over a button, and it eases in. The color or the change or the indication that you're hovering over that eases in. And you'll notice with these first 4 items, dashboard, progress, product, and people, as I hover over the items, it doesn't have that sort of intense and jarring feeling when you do go to that item. And it is something that it's sort of like a blink and you'll miss it thing. Many people would overlook this, but it really is what can separate you from becoming a very good developer, an accumulation of all these little things on the product that you have. And I'll show you the difference between when you put in what is a transition, a color change transition for a font or an icon, which I've got here. You can see it sort of slowly eases in and it's got a nice feel to it. And then these bottom 4 items, it's very abrupt, and it just, as you hover over something, it's just the colors there instantly. And as I say, it's something that I really do feel can impact the entire way that someone interacts with the software, because all of these little things build up. And so what I'm going to go through very quickly in a really quick lesson is how you can add something like a hover transition, a color transition to text and a color transition to icons throughout your app in certain areas, just to make it have that softer, nicer and cleaner feel. So we've got our menu items up the top here, and the ones that I haven't added a transition to are down the bottom. Now the way we've set it up is that we've got the text and the icons within a group, and when the group is hovered, when the group is hovered for the text, so we can see when this group, the integrations group, is hovered, the font color changes. And that's also the case for the icon as well. So what you want to do is you want to be selecting a group instead of just selecting and saying that when my mouse hovers over this text, I want it to light up. You actually want it to light up when the mouse cursor is within this region, which is why you would do a hover for the group instead of for the text. And that again is something that users will see. It's when I hover over down here, it's like I'm selecting that item instead of just me having to go directly onto that text. So we set up that when this group is hovered, we're going to add a font color change from whatever the original color is. Again, this is something that can really impact the user experience if you're using, changing from 2 colors that are very different to each other as well. That's another thing. In this case, I like to have subtle colors when something isn't selected or isn't in use, and then a relatively bright or nicer color, like in this case we've done a sort of pink color or purple color when it is hovered. And to add in that transition, all you need to do, it is such an easy thing to do, all you need to do is scroll down for that text element to select a property to define a new transition. We'll type in color, and we'll type in, and we'll put 500. This is just the milliseconds that it's going to ease in. If I was to put 1000, it's going to be a very slow sort of fade in. If I put in 200, it just sort of rolls in slightly quicker than it already is. I'm going to put 1000 just so I can emphasize. I would usually do 500. I'm just going to do 1000 so I can emphasize this point and show you what it looks like. So I'll go back in and update this. And you'll notice now, compared to these two, where it just flashes up, that's a very slow sort of, much nicer feel. It's probably too slow, I would say, which is obviously I've just done this as an example. But compared to the jumping between the flashing up and the sort of abrupt appearance of that color change, we've got a very slow burn, and I think it's such a clean way to do transitions and to give the user an indication that they are able to click on something or do something. So hopefully that helped, just a bit of a lesson and explanation into my thinking behind this sort of stuff in the platform. But yeah,